absolutely knocked down in that state and now going to be getting siphoned by his teammates. Now everyone grouping together. This is very good use of timing in the fight because when you're split, you do have a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of risk involved. Now coming back together, if someone tries to peek you, you have 3 people aiming in. It's very good use of splits and regrouping.
Yeah, and something to learn from that battle, guys. If you notice how quickly it ended, is because they managed to just isolate. They isolated the player, they hunted him down, they forced him into a frenzy to build up for high ground, and that was the first pick. After that, the rest of the team just kind of fell in suit, trying to play catch-up to save their teammate. But we've seen a wonderful story of Minzu, KinGi, and Boxfighter Moon all day today. They had high ground. They took second place in the first game we watched, in a crazy turnaround and some shockwave plays that were made towards endgame. But we know they've been making it to the end, and they weren't on our radar previous to this. So to see Minzu, KinGi, and Boxfighter Moon here finally making a little stake of the claim for fame here on the Fortnite competitive scene is really nice. This is one of the awesome things about being able to check out these new regions and give people opportunity.
Absolutely. This is the breakthrough moment at the moment. We've seen them be really good early game in Happy, but now they have the worst possible zone rotating in. It looks like it's pulling all the way up to the right side of the map, so they will be having a mid-game fight. Very smart use of utility, making sure with Stinks you can actually track where your enemies are through that damage tick through the wall. Now you can see them actually responding after getting that first elim. This is what we're talking about earlier in the day. When you have a Stink, it's not usually used to grief, but to gather info and then act upon afterwards. So now they're full body sending it straight into the box fight. As they're doing it, another 2 teams come up from the top. It's a huge mishmash at Grandma's house in the middle of the map. A lot of teams should be rotating through here. They might get even more action as KinGi goes down.
That's what I want to talk about. It was the aggression, the fearlessness. Moon actually jumps into a 1v3 battle for high ground build. He held it down, but unfortunately KinGi's going to get traded out here as Minzu was in the low ground trying to figure things out. And now suddenly, because they didn't, pull back the reins and play it patient here, they found themselves in another battle. But it looks like these things are putting into great work as they catch another small pick there. And they managed to fend off everyone. So we'll see if they can get the reboot card, maybe pull out a clutch save at some point or another. But teams are in shambles here.
Absolutely. You touched upon it earlier where, we're happy to see these early games. And, in comparison to all the late games we always see, it's dope to cast a huge early to end game. One big thing that applies to both early and end game.
He's going in the zone, by the way.
Is timing. And this is a big use of timing right here, right? We do have a minute 14 till the zone moves. You do want to pick your teammate up, but now you're messing with not just 1, but 2 resources. First of all, you're losing a lot of time and positioning on the zone, as well as HP pools coming in. You do have a lot of loot you did gain from the fight that these guys just had, and slurps to tick through, but the stuff you use early to pick yourself up, you will not be able to utilize in the end game. So time is shared across both early and end. It's both effective. We don't usually get to see it used at the end game, but every decision you make, maybe they wouldn't have had that mid-game fight if they were faster off their looting, right? So seeing exactly how they move across the map, how they utilize time, can actually get into where they are in the middle and end game of their gameplay.
Yeah, so they sent one player out to go kind of, obviously get that revive, and then they stood, or they left Moon back behind to, be that presence on the build on the skeleton that remains of what the fight was, so that the team below, is cautious. They don't necessarily, want to move or get that freebie rotation out of there. So the whole team is back. Now they're able to reap some of the rewards here of the loot that remains, and suddenly they're all back in action here. Now with that launch pad there, they are going to be okay to get the rotation. But remember, he did catch a knock, so notice they just want to go ahead and take a peek, see who's left here. What kind of loot can they still kind of grab up before it's time to go? And it's a short rotation, so they don't need the launch pad either. Looks like they are going to decide to probably go on foot here.
Short rotation, definitely risky, though. There are 65 people alive right now in the circle. Placement is a long ways away. Looks like Xanxus might be the last person in the trio from this fight, or one of the trios trying to move in. We'll see if it's possible for him to actually sneak through on this launch pad. Very patient gameplay there. Hopefully he has heals to come in, but this is the big problem with missed timing and getting in the zone a little bit later than you want. KinGi getting absolutely lit up in the air, going to be launching down. Might have to use hard mats early on, which means he won't have them end game. Once again, you see these connections between early and end. Usually you don't get to see why people are in such positions, but these guys took fights. They have to respond with the appropriate materials, and now they're actually turning gears to the offense. I think they noticed this guy was solo right here on the left. They do have a beam opportunity on the launch pad. Hopefully they get it. A lot of trees in the way, though, Monster. This is very interesting to see how these guys are kind of moving around the map to get in the zone mid-game.
Yeah, so far so good. Again, another little buff up to the loadout. When you get that minigun, suddenly now you have the means to put the pressure up. And TR Zanzis is going to fall there as they were relentless on the push. They hunt him down, they catch him down right there, and that's going to be a nice replenish for materials and loot of the sort. And they're big chilling right now. They have everything they need. Medium, light bullets. Mats are in a hurting because they're asking for attention from the server. But other than that, the points are accumulating. The steamroll's beginning here.
Yeah, the biggest thing to worry about is that zone still pulling up northeast over and over again. It means they have to move more vertically. There's already a hill in the way. Moving up pressure, you have to deal with lava, ever-changing ultimate low ground as well. There's so many things to take into account, and now they actually do have to move towards that way. The whole server could hold them back. We'll see if they use their utility to push through.
And here, back with this team. Before execute a nice isolation and pinch push against a full trio. Looks like they're setting up their next siege here. You saw a couple shots trading out. And interesting, the ME region kind of surprising me here with how much they are using just everything in their arsenal to fully commit to these battles here. They're throwing stinkers, laying down fire, and then fully commit into rotations and box pushes here. So this is some aggressive play we're looking at, Shayo. And it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. This is the type of play style we kind of signed up for here. We checked out this region, setting up the ramp boost right there. He's going to catch the 50-50 wall, but doesn't matter. Eagle isn't even looking. So catches that guy off guard. This little pick right there.
I think the difference in this trio is that usually people look for weakness to apply stinks to. They make the map weak. They make other trios weak first. Then they're like, oh, okay, these guys are weak. We're pushing in. They know exactly what fight they want to take. They actually make fights happen rather than sitting back and waiting for them. Right now, looks like these guys have 4 elims together. They're still affecting trios left and right, either picking up strays or making trios have just stray teammates. We'll see how much of an influence they have on the rest of the game, because it looks like so far they've affected 5 different trios coming in from the bottom left side of the map.
Yeah, Rampage actually took a lot of damage there, as does MSI Dig as well. And that's because the heavy sniper from the opponents nearby, they're just popping open those builds, following up with heavy AR fire. That's why they're able to, unfortunately, that's why they lost a lot of health here. But now having to expend all their heals, it kind of seems like it wasn't worth it. The teams they've taken out didn't really reap big rewards here. Now they're in a weird situation, scrambling for health and loot, but it's okay. We're approaching Zone 5. It'll reveal itself in just